So far in our unit, we have learned about two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional shapes. And today what we're going to do is we're going to see how they are related to one another. So you may remember that word related from when we talked about how addition and subtraction are related earlier in the school year. And we talked about how we know if 2 plus 3 equals 5, then 5 minus 3 equals 2, right? Kind of that fact family piece. That's what we meant by related then. So when we're talking about shapes being related, we're going to be looking at what solid shapes are made up of. So what 2D shapes are on the 3D shapes, and we're going to see how they go together. So our essential question is still, how do I use shapes in equal parts? And here's our exploration question. What is the relationship between a square and a cube? So here on my screen is a cube. Cube is 3D because it has length, width, and height. And you see that one of the faces on the cube is the shape of a square. So how they're related is that the face of a cube is a square. So let's draw some lines to match the three-dimensional solid shapes to the face that makes the shapes on that three-dimensional solid. So for this first one here, this orange shape is a rectangular prism, and the shape that makes the rectangular prism is the rectangle. And possibly, if this all four sides are the same, could be a square as well. The next one, this purple one here, is a pyramid. And this pyramid has a triangle here. This darker purple is a triangle. And the base of this has four sides. So that is actually a square-based pyramid. And then last but not least, we have our blue shape here. This one is a cube. All the sides or faces are going to be the exact same. Every face on this is a square. So we're going to write a problem describing the faces of a three-dimensional shape, and the answer should be a cube, rectangular, prism, pyramid, or cylinder. So I might write something like, my shape has two faces that are both circles. Do you know what it is? Two faces, only two faces, and they're both circles. Hopefully you said cylinder. Okay, so go ahead and open up to your Math in My World page on page 771 in your MyMath book. And it says, trace one face of a cube, identify the shape, trace the other faces of the cube, describe the faces of a cube. So if you can find something in your house that is the shape of a cube, you should at least have dice from your math manipulative kit that you got at the beginning of the school year. You might have a tissue box that is the shape of a cube, if it's not the long one, if it's just the square one. There might be in a game, maybe something that's in the shape of a cube. So go find a cube, and then you're going to trace the shape of that cube on here. And if you turn it over and trace another side, should be the exact same, right? Because all the faces are going to be squares on a cube. All right, go ahead and open up to 772. It says the faces of three-dimensional shapes are two-dimensional shapes. So this is how they are related. The faces of the 3D shapes are 2D shapes. And it says, helpful hint, a cube has 6 equal faces. The faces are squares. So this one only has one kind of shape, but it has 6 of them, right? There's 4 all the way around, and then 1 on top and 1 on bottom. That makes 6 squares. Circle the faces that make this shape. So a rectangular prism would have a rectangle. Possibly this side would be a square. Not all the time. If it doesn't have all 4 sides the same, then it would be another rectangle. But this one does look pretty square-like. And then number 2 is a cylinder. And the only 2D shape on a cylinder is the circle. Now you may think, well, Mrs. Stiles, this kind of looks like a rectangle, and it does, but it's not a flat face, so we couldn't trace a rectangle from that because that whole thing is rounded like a can of soup. Okay, and then the faces that make this shape are all 4 triangles. And the base is a square, so all of these. So explain how 2-dimensional shapes and 3-dimensional shapes are related. We can say the faces of 3D shapes are 2D shapes. Okay, so you are going to finish page 773, 774, and upload pictures to schoolwork when you're done.